Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, it's gonna be a little bit different than most of my content, but I have gotten so many questions. I feel like that's like an oversaid thing. Like, I've gotten so many questions on this, but I'm not making it up. I've gotten a lot of questions and requests saying, can you please share with us how you teach piano? I should have done a little bit more of an introduction. So if you're new here, my name is Julie. I'm a homeschooling mom of 5. Before I had kids, I was a piano teacher. I had a lot of private students. My days were full with private lessons. When I was 18, I got my teacher's degree from the Royal Conservatory of Music. Was I 18? Yes, I was 18 when I got it. So I have my teacher's degree. And as I started having kids, I gradually dropped students and dropped students and dropped students. And then before my 4th was born, I stopped teaching altogether because I just didn't have time. I didn't have time to do it. Once my older kids got old enough to start piano lessons, I have been teaching them. So like I said, I have gotten questions about how I teach piano, and I have been like hemming and hawing over this for months and months, because I'm like, how do I go about like teaching piano? It's this whole huge thing. Like, how do I simply put in one video, how do I teach piano? And so I thought, I am just gonna go through and share with you guys how a first piano lesson goes, how I teach a child their first piano lesson. So my 4th child, Zara, she is just about 7. She's about to turn 7. And we just started piano lessons. So this is all fresh on my mind. When people ask me what age their child should start piano lessons, I always recommend the age of 7. And so that's what I've done with my kids. I have taught kids at 5, and some people really want their kids to start at 5, and that's fine. I will teach them. But I always tell parents that if they start at 5 or if they start at 7, by 10, they're gonna be about the same level. They just go a lot slower when they start at 5. When they're 7, if they have started reading and just started some basic math, they are ready and prepared to move faster. Of course, you can start piano lessons later. Anyways, back to the topic, how I teach that first piano lesson. First off, I should show you what books we use, what books I've always used teaching, and it is these books, the Piano Adventures books by Randall and Nancy Faber. So this is the lesson book. It's been well used. And then I always use the theory books as well. This one is a consumable book, so each of my kids needed a new one, so it looks a lot fresher and nicer than the lesson book. But those are the books that we always start with. I might look down at my notes a bit because I have written some thorough notes just to make sure I don't forget anything as I talk about what I include in that lesson. So I'll say, come sit at the piano, and then we right away talk about posture at the piano. So you want the student to be sitting nice and tall. Their bum should be on the front half of the bench. They put their hands into fists and put their knuckles out, and their arms should reach right to the fall board on the piano. If they are reaching and they have to like reach way forward to reach it, then they're sitting too far away. But if their arms are all bent and they're kind of tight in there, crammed in there, then they know the piano bench needs to move back. So I teach them that that is the proper posture at the piano, and they should be checking their posture each day as they practice. So I tell them to sit nice and tall, shoulders relaxed. I also get each of my kids and each of my students, when I had them, to also bring me a spiral notebook. So each week I would write down what songs we're working on, little notes, what they should be practicing at home for them to remember, and also their parents can, look at the book and make sure their child is doing what was asked of them at the lesson. Then we talk a little bit about hand position, and so we talk about how the fingers need to be curved at the piano. I get them to hold their hand out like this, and I say, look at your fingers, look at how they're all different lengths. And then I say, okay, relax your hand and curve your fingers. Now look at the side. All of your fingers are the same length. That is how you want to hold your hand when you're at the piano. I will also sometimes get them to sit and put their hands on their knees, just hands right over their knees, and then just slowly raise their hands, and that will be a good hand position for playing the piano. Another thing you can tell your student to make sure they have a good hand position is to hold their hand in a C. And that's a good hand position. After we've talked about all that intro stuff, the kids are eager to get their hands up on the piano, and so I start telling the students about keyboard street. I don't know where this originated from. This is what my piano teacher growing up, this is how she taught me to teach. And so I don't know where she got it from, if it originated with her or if more people know about this, I don't know, but I've used it with every single student I've ever had who is just beginning, and it works amazing. And so I tell the students, look at the keys. There are white keys, there are black keys. This is keyboard street. So on keyboard street, there are some dog houses. And so I will show them all the groups of the two black notes and say, these are all dog houses. I will play a couple and then I'll tell the student, I want you to find all the dog houses on the piano. And they're very eager to get up there and touch and play all those dog houses. And then there are also houses on keyboard street. Here is a house, and I will play a group of 3 black notes and tell the student, now I want you to play all those houses as well. And so they go through and play all the houses. And then I might mention down at the bottom, there's the 1 black note by itself. That's the general store at the end of the street. And then I might go back and say again, okay, play for me a dog house again. Play for me a house again, and just review that. Then we go through and learn all the white keys. So I'm going to tell you the whole keyboard street story right now. But a lot of this, oftentimes this will be taught over 2 or maybe even 3 lessons, depending how quickly the child picks it up. But after we talk about dog houses and houses, I will say, on this street, there is a dog. There's a dog living inside the doghouse. And so I play the D. The letter names for the notes comes later. I don't even tell them that there are other letter names. They're just learning them as words at this point. And so I'll say, there's the dog right in the middle of the doghouse. Can you play a dog? And then I'll say, can you find another dog? Can you find some more dogs? And they find all the dogs, or the D, on keyboard street. Beside the doghouse, there is a cat. I'll play the C. Here is the cat. It lives right beside the doghouse. Can you find some cats? And then on the other side of the doghouse, this is kind of funny, but there's an elephant. There's an elephant in the yard beside the doghouse on the other side from the cat. Here's the elephant. Can you find some more elephants on keyboard street? Once I have taught C, D, and E, I will go through and just review those again and say, where's a cat? Where's an elephant? Can you find a dog? And at that point, I know if we need to stop there. Often that's enough for a student to learn just those 3. But if not, we'll keep going on. The next note I will teach is the boy. So there's a boy living up on the top floor of the house, and his job every day is to take care of the cat. So see, the cat is right here. The boy is on the top floor of the house, and he takes care of that cat. So here's a boy. Here's a boy down low on the piano, and here's a boy up high on the piano. Can you find some of those boys? So the boy's job is to take care of the cat. Who's going to take care of the elephant? Well, it's kind of a funny story, but the boy found this elephant one day, and he went into his house and said, Father, can we keep this elephant? And the father was kind of busy on the phone, not really paying attention to his son. And he's like, oh, sure, yeah, that's fine. You go play. And so the boy thought, oh, father said I could keep this elephant. So he brought the elephant into the backyard and fed the elephant. And before long, the elephant was so big, by the time the father looked outside and saw the elephant, he couldn't fit out the gate anymore to get out of the backyard. So he was stuck in the backyard. So what were they gonna do? Well, the father, it was his job to take care of that elephant and feed the elephant. So the father feeds the elephant every day. He lives right here on the bottom floor of the house, and his job is to take care of that elephant. And so then I'd stop right there and review those, see again how they're doing, how quickly are they playing the right notes when I request it of them, and are they getting mixed up between the notes? And then if they're ready, we go on, and I say, there are two more people living on this keyboard street. And so the father lives on the bottom floor. Up on the next floor is the grandmother. The grandmother lives on the second floor of the house. She does all of the cooking and bakes some cookies for the boy when he comes home from school. And this is the grandmother. Can you find all the grandmothers on the piano? And the last person on this street is the aunt. The aunt lives right on the floor underneath the boy. She tells the boy when it's time to have his bath. She gets him to bed at night and ready for school in the morning. And that is the aunt that lives right beside the boy. So can you go and find all of the aunts? And so that is the story of Keyboard Street. It has worked amazing for all of my students. They really pick up on it quickly. And so like I said, I will often stop after cat, dog, elephant, you know, and then the next week maybe I'll only teach F and B, and then the next week G and A, depending how quickly the student's picking it up. You want to make sure that you are really aware of if it's too much for them and when it's enough for that week, and then they'll practice that all that week. The next week I teach, you know, a couple more people on Keyboard Street, and we don't even say, like, I don't even say, oh, that's actually a C, but we're gonna call it a cat. It is just a cat, a dog, elephant, father, grandmother, aunt, and boy. That is what they're called. And then probably like 3 or 4 weeks later, whenever they've learned all of the notes, then I say, guess what? The cat is actually a C. We're gonna call it C now. And they usually can adjust to that very quickly. And it's interesting how sometimes even like a couple months into piano, they're like, oh yeah, the dog, oh, I mean D, and they kind of laugh at themselves, but they're still, I think, thinking in the back of their minds, they know the names of each of those keys. Okay, as I am teaching them Keyboard Street, I might also throw in there, like, see these notes that are way down low on the piano? Those notes, the lower down they go on the piano towards the bottom, those are low notes. And the notes that go up here, these are the high notes. Let's practice singing some low notes. Let's practice singing some high notes. And we'll talk about low notes and high notes. And as we're talking about the notes, I might say, can you find a cat really down low on the piano? Can you find a grandma up high, the highest grandma you can find on the piano? And then we talk about right hand and left hand. That's a very important thing for them to grasp early on in piano. Where's your right hand? Where's your left hand? And then we work on finger numbers. So the thumb is finger 1, we have finger 2, 3, 4, 5. An important basis as you're learning piano, you need to know those finger numbers. And so to review those, I will close the piano lid on my keyboard. It doesn't have a lid, but if we had a real piano, I'd close the lid and I'd get the child to put their hands up on the piano in that nice curved position, and we just practice tap finger 1, tap finger 2, tap finger 3, finger 4, 5, and then I would say, okay, now this is going to take some concentration. I want you to, with your right hand, tap finger 3, and so they will tap just that finger. Now with your left hand, tap finger 1, and it's a lot even for them just to hold their hands and just tap a 3 or a 4 or a 5. You know, their fingers are just kind of figuring out how to work on their own, not as a team, all their fingers together. After that, we get into the first couple songs. So in this book, the Faber and Faber book, we usually go through, I'll show you these first couple pages first too. So as we're talking about sitting at the piano, we do have this as a little guide. It also has this where you can see the finger numbers, the left hand, the right hand. And then we play this, the pecking rooster and the pecking hen. And so I get the child to make a little pecking hen. Okay, finger 1 and 3, that finger 1 is bracing finger 3, and then they'll start in the middle of the piano and play every note going up, 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 all the way to the top. And as they're playing, you know, they're just playing one note at a time. I'm talking about, do you hear the sound? Do you hear that the sound's getting higher and higher as you go? And then they play the pecking rooster. That's for the left hand, and the left hand plays the low notes. We also talk a bit how right hand plays the high notes and left hand plays the low notes. And then usually the only 2 songs I assign, so I would write that in their notebook, pecking hen, pecking rooster, practice that. And then the 2 songs we would learn are these 2, so the 2 black ants. And this book does not talk about dog houses and houses and all those other names for Keyboard Street, but I would say, okay, this is going to be played on the dog house. And so you want to put your finger 2 and 3 on the dog house, and you're going to play 2 black ants. And we don't talk yet about counting or being steady, but I try to get them to play one note, the next note, sink in, up, 2, 3, together, up. And as they're going down, they do kind of catch on to that steady beat. And then the 2 blackbirds is the same thing. It's just on the group of 2 black notes, gonna drop my books, the group of 2 black notes with the right hand. And that's usually what is included in a first piano lesson. I hope that's what you guys were looking for, talking about how I teach piano. That's just how I teach a student's very first piano lesson, and then we go on from there, and we just work our way through this book, and then they move on to the next level. And I hope that was helpful in some way. And if you have any other questions for me, put those down below and I will get to those. I will see you guys in my next video, and happy piano playing, happy teaching. I'll see you next time.